G'day Amesh! Today we're going to be taking a look at basically the crafting event for War Thunder. I know, the spring crafting event is upon us and there are 4 reward vehicles. A very low tier French armoured car, another cruiser of the kind for Russia, a very interesting Terminator with a lot of variable functionality, and then an A7K, which is basically just a fat A7. So, you know, pretty interesting, and of course, typical crafting event. It's just, I don't know, I hate crafting events. So we're going to take a look at the rewards. This being the AMD 35 SA35, it's a rank 1 battle rating 1.7. The most armor you get on it is about 20 millimeters. There it is, 26. And then you've got around the gun breech, which is 45. It comes with a 4 crew, has a top speed of about 70 kilometers an hour, and yeah, it's quite compact and a decent little feature. The only disappointing side to this particular vehicle is the fact that it's another event vehicle that is a wheeled vehicle that goes to France's territory. That's my only sort of complaint about this thing. I mean, it's cool otherwise, and it's a collector's item. So there you go, there's a look at the stats on the card right there. No coaxial machine gun, so this thing will struggle to take out light targets, but comes with high explosive, and it can also use its APBC thing, I think. Anyway, let's see if we can pan Panzer II. That thing's going to have no trouble trying to penetrate us in the real world scenario. Panzer IV, on the other hand, can't necessarily go through the front of it at all. Even a well-aimed shot, because this thing doesn't have a stabilizer either, but the turret on this thing kind of looks like that Easter Island statue, the Moyes, is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, going through the side of Panzer IV's no problem. Going through the side or rear of any vehicle shouldn't be you know, it's a flanking vehicle. A little low-tier World War II tank. This is a ship. That's about all you're going to get from me in terms of coverage on this. A rank 5 battle rating 6.0, another cruisery thing. So there you go. This is the QN506, nicknamed the Chinese Terminator because this is the first vehicle of its type, which is really, really interesting. Armor-wise, it's nothing to write home about. This thing is a glass cannon, 100mm at maximum, 30mm at the top, and 25 at the sort of the upper hull. But this is what it's all about. It's got ERA on the front lower side, and the crew is quite well displaced inside the vehicle, so shooting a shot through the center there will make it particularly difficult, and there's nothing in the turret, so again, quite interesting. And then there is primary and secondary stuff on as terms of ammunition. Now, it's got a particularly interesting armament. This is what makes the main gun. There is a 30mm APFSDS, several other shells. That's fantastic, but this is where it's interesting. This is an ATGM. This is the 70mm ATGMs. There's 2 sets of ATGMs. There's the 151mm, which does 1000mm of penetration. On top of that, you've also got smoke screen, you've got night vision, you've got rangefinder, you've also got scouting, you've also got a scout UAV, and yeah, smoke grenades as well, if I didn't mention that already. So yeah, a pretty versatile vehicle overall, with a top speed of about 50 kilometers an hour. It is 31 tons, but there is only 3 crews, so you kill one of those crew members, you're potentially out. It is a glass cannon in every sense of the word, but it has some of the most impressive armament on any vehicle I've seen. Okay, now I'm going to sort of speed run this. Essentially, I'm firing off the 70mm sort of rockets and everything. It's sort of like a Katyusha here, firing absolutely everything you possibly can. It's kind of interesting. I must admit, this tank in front of me here doesn't really seem to be taking too much damage. 30mm is actually doing more damage. It just happens to be the fact that, well, when you run out of the 70mm rockets, which you will do occasionally, and setting up different keybinds for the different armament will be a necessity for this vehicle, but there isn't an opportunity for you to launch and lock on to targets with your 151mm ATGMs. Now, of course, you get 4 of them, and they're the big motherfuckers in the basically the top of the turret. But did you know it also has the ability to lock on and fire on aircraft? Yeah, so this particular machine is going to be incredibly useful. It's got like that tracking mode and several other things. Not entirely sure what it is. First of all, we're testing spikes in the April Fool's event with the infantry mechanics, and now we're getting, you know, proper fire and forgets. Sort of caught me off guard, seeing that IL-28 actually died to this particular machine. And just to point out, you just fire over the top. As long as it's within line of sight, you aim up a bit and you can basically fire over hills from a depressed position. And yeah, what a machine. What else can I say? I'm not really a tanker, but this has incredible potential. Now, I really love the A7s and A7D and the A7E, and obviously its fighter counterparts, the F8. This thing is kind of a bit lackluster for me. I get why it's not in the tech tree. It's heavier than its counterpart. It doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles, but it's almost virtually identical to every other attacker that America gets. It's just another attacker with a Vulcan and a radar and 2 crew. Really, that's the only sort of distinction about this vehicle. It does get a flare pod, which is interesting, I suppose, the thermals. But when are you really going to use those unless you're dedicated to using it in ground pounding operations in realistic battles, particularly in ground forces? Then I don't really see the point in doing that. Doing bomb runs in air realistic might be feasible, but again, it's not really the type of aircraft that you'd really fly out too often. Again, it's something that is quite interesting, but not interesting at the same time. And I really feel like they've dropped the ball when it comes to what type of aircraft they could have put in. There's plenty of those sitting around in the game files that would be at least more interesting. But hey, it's a crafting event. What do you expect? There it is. Oh yeah, battle rating of 11.0 as well. So this thing immediately off the bat feels incredibly heavy. Obviously the extra seat and the extra pilot and all the extra gear that particular person has to use adds the aircraft to weight and obviously limits its potential. But then again, the airframe for this particular aircraft really could carry a lot, so it really depends. But again, I'm feeling just a slightly slower acceleration. Not by a great deal, but again, I don't have the full weight of a whole bit of ordnance underneath, let alone gun pods. So what else is there to say, considering this is a test drive and can't really access absolutely everything, and you're not accessing the whole aircraft spaded either? I don't know. There isn't really much else to write home about it, aside from the fact that it's quite nimble. I was expecting it to be a little more sluggish. We'll have to wait and see how it actually performs in real battles here soon, because, I mean, I've always enjoyed flying these. Granted, it's a little bit late. The meta is a bit done for these type of machines. That's absolutely amazing that this can do. Oh yeah, there's the flares. And just being able to pull and you know, just weave your way around, it's kind of a fun thing to sort of imagine. Although it is a little bit of a bus, that's to be expected, though. The A7s and the F8s kind of fly like that anyway. Typical attacker aircraft. The one thing I'm quite annoyed by is it's just another American attack aircraft. We've already got so many different types of them. I want to go for something more unique. Like maybe, I don't know, some of the seaplanes. The F2 Dart or the Sea Dart, that would be more unique. What about some of the other 50s stuff that you could shove in that'd be more interesting to sort of look at? I don't know. I feel like this is a missed opportunity because this could have just easily been slapped in the tech tree and been called a day. Really, it just kind of, it does boggle my mind. Again, the only thing I'm grateful for this particular vehicle is it isn't something that's going to change the meta or change top tier, but you know, for those of us who like aviation, well, it's kind of a bit of a hit or miss. There's no low-tier reward for us. There's no low-tier reward for the naval players either, so we're kind of stuck in this situation where it's just another crafting event. So, you know, good rudder authority, decent aileron, and spinning like that is quite fascinating. So, I'm trying to stall the aircraft out here. It doesn't necessarily do the job. I'm going to pull the flaps here in a minute as well and just see how it handles the speed of my aircraft doing about 460 k's an hour. Now I'm doing about 500, I'm going to pull the flaps. Oh, there you go, you get a close look at what the visual model looks like when I rip a flap off. I mean, it's exactly the same as any other A7, so who am I kidding? So yeah, that's 2023's Spring Crafting event. At least a look over some of the rewards. Obviously there's some tricolour camouflage and a bicolour camouflage for the A7K here, but again, I just don't feel like this event is particularly that interesting unless you really want a Chinese Terminator. I don't know, the little French armoured car is always welcome, but it could have been a tech tree vehicle. It's probably the reason why they put it as an event is because the main gun doesn't really have a great deal of penetration, so it's probably just been shoved in as an event vehicle because they can, but disappointing to not see another armoured car for mainline tech tree for France, but that's the only real minor complaint, other than the A7 being a bit mediocre. The ship, well, it's just another cruiser for the thousands of other cruisers that they've got. But let me know what you think in the comments down below of this crafting event. My name is Ash, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.